Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. My very special welcome, if I can say this, a greeting for sure, to the protagonist of this evening, the person who actually gathered us here to receive something that she told me that she was not expecting, and she was not asking for, and simply happened to her as a kind of a surprise in her life. It's good to know that, because this tells us that good surprises can happen as well. Quite often when we think about surprises, we think about something not always so. Quite often we think about something rather difficult or negative that happens. But they are good things that happen to us as well. And I believe that Mrs. Florence Webb Maxwell is the example of that. For example, kind of surprise happened to me 10 minutes ago when she told me, "And you are going to say the blessing." I was not expecting to go on television and all these things in presence of minister and you good people. I am used to be in church, and there I know what to say, how to combine the things. I would like just to say that, Lord, we want to thank you for our lives. We want to thank you for the gifts that you so generously gifted us with. And we thank you for your grace that is leading us in developing all these talents that we discover while the time of our life is going on. But we thank you also for people whom we meet in our journey of life, because they, through their wisdom, mentorship, example, they help us to understand better the realities, situations, and things. And in a certain way, they become your blessing to us. Tonight, we want to bless you for Florence. She was so kind that gave me this honor and privilege to call her by name. When I called her once, Mrs. Maxwell, she said, "Just Florence is enough." That's the sense of simplicity, the sense of humility, the sense of not being willed to be noticed, but still doing great, beautiful things, is a great lesson. Florence is not just the guardian of the past, but she is the person who is able, has been always able, as I am learning, and is still able, even if talking about things that belong to the past, to make them present in the present, and to inspire new generations that come to be truly motivated to what is right, just, to fight for justice with courage, with determination, with dedication. And we thank you for the blessing, O Lord, that Florence is for us here in Bermuda, for this society, and for our church as well. But does not mean that she is limited only to our church, because she is almost like you, O Lord. She is everywhere. Maybe it's not as almighty as you are, but she is everywhere. She belongs to us institutionally as the church, but she belongs to this people, despite religion or non-religion, confession, non-confession, denomination, non-denomination. And we are so thankful to you for the gift of Florence, for what she was able to accomplish. And we hope that there will be still many things, good surprises that she is going to accomplish again, and to enrich the life of this society and of our community, and be this great beacon of wisdom, of dedication, of light. May God bless us, bless Florence, her family, her friends, bless this wonderful place, It's so good to know that there are still people, young people who want to read. May they learn as much as possible, but also may they be always open to those who are a bit older or maybe were born earlier than them and can become for them another source of wisdom, wisdom of life, wisdom of service, wisdom of freedom. Thank you very much. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop Wesley, for that blessing. At this time, I'm going to invite the Minister for the Cabinet Office and Digital Innovation, the Honorable Diallo Rabain JP MP.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Today is a proud day, a meaningful day, a day that says the people of Bermuda, especially our young people, that service, courage, and love for community matters. We are here to officially rename the Bermuda Youth Library in honor of a woman whose life has been a testament to those values, Ms. Florence Webb Maxwell. This renaming is more than just giving a building a new name. It's about passing a legacy on to the next generation. Ms. Maxwell's story begins at a time when standing up for what's right carried real risk. From a very young age, she was part of a group of 18 young people called the Progressive Group, the then secret organizers of the 1959 theater boycott that helped end racial segregation in Bermuda. She didn't do it for recognition. In fact, their identities were kept hidden for decades. But she did it because she believed in justice and believed young people deserved better. That belief never left her. After fighting for change, she turned her energy to nurturing young minds. For nearly 30 years, she led this youth library with heart, creativity, and a deep understanding that books could open doors. She made the library a place of joy. Bedtime story nights, puppet shows, kite making with Al Seymour Jr., and stories that connected people to their culture and their imaginations. Many of us here today, and many more across our island, remember being part of that magic. And she didn't stop there. In retirement, she gave us The Spirit Baby and Other Bermuda Folktales, a collection of Bermudian folktales. Then, at an age when most people were slowing down, she published her first novel, Girl Caught. That story, rooted in our own history, reached far beyond Bermuda shores and brought our voice to the world stage. So yes, renaming this library is definitely the right decision. I'm especially proud that this idea originated from the community. A sincere thank you to Ms. Shirley Pierman for putting pen to paper and sharing her vision. Thank you, Director Joanne Brangman, for her enthusiastic support, and most of all, thank you, Ms. Maxwell, who responded with grace and humility when I presented the idea to her. Florence, you have given so much to this country. Your courage changed our course. Your dedication provided generations of children a place to belong. And your stories continue to shape how we see ourselves. Your legacy is rooted in culture, courage, and compassion. And that is why we are renaming this library to honor you. It has been one of the greatest honors in my time in public service to work with you to make this tribute happen. I am so glad that we could do it now, while you could stand here and feel the love and appreciation of your country. To everyone watching, I encourage you to celebrate this moment. Visit the library, read one of Ms. Maxwell's books. Tell your children about the woman behind the name that will grace the wall of this building. Let this place, the Florence Webb Maxwell Youth Library, be a beacon, not just for books and learning, but what is possible when one person lives a life of purpose. Ms. Maxwell, on behalf of all of Bermuda, we thank you, we honor you, and we love you. Tonight's program will continue with readings from two of her most acclaimed works, Spirit Baby and Girl Caught, and possibly reflections from others who have reflected on her life and work. I now invite everyone to enjoy this special evening, which will include an official unveiling of the new signage and heartfelt remarks from those within, followed by a reception where I hope you will continue to share the joy of this moment. Thank you, Ms. Maxwell, and thank you everyone for coming out.
I'd like to now invite Ms. Sharonette Wolf, who will give us one of our first readings, followed by Ms. Grace Rollins.
Good evening, everyone. We definitely owe a debt of honor to Mrs. Maxwell. Mrs. Maxwell and I go way back since I was 20. And I'm very proud to be here today. I was torn between two stories, between counting out the people or Mattie and old auntie. But being that we're in the cup match spirit, I have chosen Mattie and old auntie. Mattie was a kind girl who, despite being enslaved, looked out for everyone's welfare, thereby neglecting her own needs. When Emancipation Day arrived, many of the freed bondspeople were prepared to celebrate in the fine outfits they had collected, unbeknown to their owners. Poor Mattie had no such treasure, but this did not bother her in the least. Her freedom was her treasure. She decided to celebrate by going to St. George's Square to watch the festivities. While all the former slaves were preparing for the event, Mattie slipped away unnoticed and wended her way towards the square. Now, on her way, she had to pass old auntie's shack. Old auntie was a slave who had lived long past her usefulness and resided in a shanty in an alley leading to the square. Mattie often went to visit her, taking her food and looking out for her general welfare. Although old auntie appeared feeble, she knew everybody's business and would tell Mattie of anyone who needed help among the slaves. When Mattie passed the shack, she was not really surprised to see old auntie sitting at the window, waiting to see the parade of freed people on their way to the square. "Hello, old auntie." Hello, said Mattie, slowing down to be polite. "Where you going in damn rags?" the old woman asked, looking the young girl up and down. "Everybody's dressed up today, didn't you know?" "I know," said Mattie. "That's why I'm going to find a place on the square to hide so they won't see me. That way I'll enjoy the day without spoiling their fun." "No place to sit, hide down that square," the old woman said. "You might as well come in here with me and watch the folks pass by the window. That way you'll see their finery and they won't need to take notice of you." Mattie didn't want to tell old auntie that she wanted to see more than finery. She wanted to see them dancing and having fun as well. She realized in time that the old woman was too old to walk the square and had to content herself with looking out of the window. Furthermore, she probably wanted Mattie's company. So Mattie went inside old auntie's shack and sat down on a broken stool near the window. "I'll go and brew some lemongrass tea and we'll sip it together. We'll get a good view of the passers-by from this window." Old auntie walked away humming with pleasure, thus making Mattie glad that she did not go to the square after all. She settled herself on the old stool and waited for the action to begin. After a while, Mattie realized that old auntie had been gone for a while. At first, she thought the old woman was slow in moving and needed the time to get herself organized. So she decided not to interfere and make old auntie feel that she was incapable of carrying out the simple task of brewing lemongrass tea. When more time elapsed, and still no old auntie, Mattie decided to go and see what was taking her so long. First, she went into the tiny backyard where the lemongrass grew, but she saw only 2 chickens clucking around looking for food. She then went into the house and looked around. There was not much to see, for the shack was one small room with the sleeping quarters partitioned off by a tattered cloth. All of the cooking was done out of doors. Mattie walked toward the cloth partition and hesitated. If old Auntie was behind the shabby curtain, she was surely doing something private. "Auntie, Auntie," she called softly, putting an ear near the curtain. There was no answer. No answer. "Auntie," Mattie called again. She thought she had heard a rustling sound. She pulled back the partition, not knowing what to expect. To her surprise, she saw old Auntie seated on her straw mattress, bowed down over some silk material in front of her. "Auntie," Mattie said again, a little louder, for the old woman was so engrossed in what she was doing. She did not see Mattie stand in front of her. Old Auntie raised her head slowly, looked at Mattie, and smiled. "This is finished," she said, holding a silk petticoat up to Mattie. "And just in time, too. Here, put it on. The dress is here when you're through." She patted a beautiful blue dress with frills that was behind her on the mattress. "I knew you wouldn't have time for yourself, and the others knew that, too. So they brought some material over for me to make you a dress." Mattie did not know what to say. She discarded her rags, slipped into this exquisite petticoat, then carefully put the dress on over it. She had just finished fastening the last button when singing and clapping could be heard approaching old Auntie's house. Old Auntie gently pushed Mattie out of the room, and outside, where several young men immediately grabbed her arm and twisted and twirled her around. The women clapped and shouted. When the twisting and twirling showed off Mattie's silk petticoat, the dance continued all the way down to the alley and onto the square. With old Auntie clapping and jigging outside of her door, Mattie was indeed the queen of the emancipation celebration, for everyone remembered her unselfish deeds. The alley, as you all know to this day, is known as Silk Alley or Petticoat Lane. Go, St. George's.
We'll invite now Ms. Grace Rawlins with a reading.
It's an honor for me today to read an excerpt from one of Mrs. Maxwell's books, and she knows the discussions that we've had about her writing. Mrs. Maxwell and I go back a long way through the days of the Bermuda Library. And she was here at the Youth Library, and I was at the library on Queen Street. I'm going to read an excerpt from Girl Cut. Girl Cut was published in 2017. And it's an interesting story about the struggles that young people have, even with events that are beyond their understanding. Even in paradise, revolutions can be inconvenient things. A week ago, Desma Johnson had only 2 things on her mind. In exactly 8 days, she would be 16 years old. And to top it off, she was in line for a top scholarship, bringing her one step closer to her dreams. Life was perfect, and nothing would get in the way of her birthday plans. But it's 1959, and the secret Progressive League has just announced a boycott of all cinemas in Bermuda in order to end racial segregation. Today was Friday, exactly 8 days, 192 hours, 11,520 minutes, or 691,200 seconds away. And those precious seconds were dripping from time while Mama was listening to some gregarious caller. I had almost twisted my ankle rushing into the kitchen to grab the telephone before it stopped ringing. But Mama was quicker. She had just put a casserole into the oven, and yet she was able to snatch the receiver off the hook before the person hung up. "Is it Eileen?" I asked between gasps as I dropped my school bag on a nearby chair and rushed to stand next to her. Ignoring me, Mama pressed the receiver close to her ear, but not fast enough to block out the shrill, high-pitched voice coming from the other end. "No, this is not Desma. It is her mother, Mrs. Johnson," she said. But she didn't hand over the receiver, even though I was close by, close enough I could pick up the scent of the Dixie peach she used in her hair. Remember that? "I'll get her to call you." Without looking at me, she placed her finger to her lips, then gently pushed me aside. This gesture should have been hint enough for me to move away, but I didn't. I stood a half-foot away, watching her carve the receiver into her ear and nodding in three deep short lines were etched on her forehead. This pantomime made me more impatient to use the telephone, for Eileen's call was important to me. My impatience must have oozed out an odor, for Mama flared her nostrils and gestured for me to move away completely. Instinctively, I plopped down on the nearest chair and clenched my fists in my lap. I knew now that the conversation couldn't be interrupted, for bad manners to Mama was equal to waving a red flag in front of the proverbial bull. Instead, I closed my eyes and tried to concentrate on solving the problem at hand. My best friend Eileen was helping me to put together last-minute plans for my 16th birthday celebration next Saturday. Birthday invitations were sent out 2 months ago when I invited 6 girlfriends for a sleepover on Friday and a beach party at Deep Bay on Saturday. Papa had made the surprise change yesterday, right in this very kitchen in front of Mama and me. "I am going to treat your whole class to the movies as a birthday gift," he said, when I told him and Mama that Mr. Lewis, my headmaster, announced at a special assembly that I had excelled in the Oxbridge external exams. The examiners in England wrote that I had surpassed many students in the Commonwealth when I passed 13 of my subjects with top marks. I don't know how my feet took me on that stage when I was called in front of the whole school and congratulated. All I remember was that Mr. Lewis said I brought honor not only to my tiny island, but to the whole Negro race. The biggest and best part of this news is that I stand a good chance of getting the Empire Scholarship and being accepted into a prestigious college to become an actuary after graduating from Collegiate Institute. This morning, when I made the announcement, a roar went up from the class, and the 2 class clowns, Dedrick Smith and Hugh Hawkins, hooped and hollered and slapped me on my back. "You mean you'll see Yul Brynner in The Buccaneer?" someone at the back of the room screamed out. The roar following the announcement seemed to rattle the windows, and my heart did a double flip a few seconds later when head boy George Strong squeezed my shoulder and said, "Everything you do turns out so special." Thanks, Desma.
Thank you for that. We're going to invite Ms. Shirley Pierman with a tribute.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know everybody uses smartphones. I still use firecards. I have had the privilege of knowing Mrs. Maxwell since the age of 12. I respected her because my father held her in such high esteem. Consequently, she was a role model to me before the disclosure of the progressive group. As mothers, we were both privileged and challenged to nurture two male citizens in an oft-time inhospitable environment. Our secret weapon was books, one's personal library and the youth library. My mantra was simple: books are our friends. Mr. Rabain is of the same era as our sons, so he can identify with the significance and the impact that the youth library under Mrs. Maxwell's tenure had on young people of the 70s and 80s. Oft forgotten is that the youth library during Mrs. Maxwell's leadership filled a void when school libraries were well-intended but often sparse, non-specific, or non-existent. Today, 21st century readers are bombarded with extraneous influences, so it is imperative that they have the support that they deserve. Doing so in this environment, with the knowledge that Mrs. Florence Webb Maxwell paved the way for literacy, creativity, and cultural acumen, will strengthen their experience as well as their resolve, especially if an educational component is incorporated into this significant step. There are many friends to be made here, lifelong friends that will empower and stabilize our young people. The changes that have been made are absolutely beautiful. And I thank whoever for doing it, and I know you will pass on those congratulations. It's a stimulating environment which all young people should be comfortable in coming here. And what I especially like is that little nook for the young people. So, I'll conclude with the words of Wendell Willkie. Open the books if you wish to be free. Thank you, Mrs. Maxwell. Thank you, Minister Rabain. And thank you to those who helped.
We have a new plaque, the new plaque that we've designed that will bear the new name of this library, and I'd like to show it to you, and I would like to invite the minister to do the honors. Minister?
First to ride, I would like for you to join me. Ms. Maxwell.
I'm gonna have to do it. And if I fall on my face, it's a good excuse to go home.
in honor of the renaming of the library, Ms. Maxwell, we want to present you with this plaque for you to take home, and it reads, presented on the commemoration of the renaming of the Bermuda Youth Library, the Florence Webb Maxwell Youth Library, July 21st, 2025. Oh, Michael, can you turn around for your fans over this side? We'll wait for you, Ms. Estelle.
Thank you.
You want to help me with the paper?
Thank you.
You can do that.
Should I get someone to do that?
Thank you, everyone. It's been such an honor to be able to just speak with Ms. Maxwell and actually have a conversation with her was a life-changing moment for me. I remember coming here when I was a little boy reading, and I remember bringing my daughter here to come here and read when she was little, and you very well know my daughter as well. And so it's just been a special moment to be able to do this for you, and thank you for allowing us to do this for you.
Thank you for doing it.
All right, so thank you, everybody. I think this brings an end to this part of the ceremony. What's that? This brings an end to this part of the ceremony, and we welcome you to stay, and please share stories with each other about how you know this young woman and the influence she had on our lives.